Okay, I think it said recording in progress, so I will say we are ready to go. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my very first YouTube interview. So, Jacie Neer, welcome, and I guess you can introduce yourself. Say hi.
Hi, I am Jacie Neer. I'm 21. I'm the author of almost three books. Super excited. Um, that's about it, I think. I'm not the most exciting person.
You know what, that's fair. I feel like the introduction part is honestly, I'm like, hi, I wrote some books. Let's get
Yay.
into the video. Moving on. So, I guess a little bit of background first on your books itself. So, what are your books about? And then, are you self-published, traditional published? Anything else you want to talk about with your books?
Okay, yeah, I have my books here because I love them. Um, so this is my debut novel. It's Dark Oasis. It's about a young man named Claire Matthew who grew up isolated in a forest. At the start of the forest, he learns that the forest is haunted. At the start of the forest. At the start of the story, he learns the forest is haunted. The twins who haunt the forest are attempting to get him to end his own life. It takes the traditional elements of a classic ghost story and implements them into a dark fantasy story structure. So
That sounds
that's his book.
like a good read, and I love the cover. I'm a sucker for pretty covers, so
My
I
cover
always say
designer, oh my gosh, she's incredible. So
it's
yeah.
awesome.
And book two, this one comes out in like 3 days. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So
It's a trilogy, right?
it
It's
is a trilogy. Yep.
awesome.
I'm so excited.
That's
So,
great.
and then this is a poetry book. I actually published it before Dark Oasis. And it's about the events in my life that inspired Dark Oasis. So,
So they're
yeah.
kind of connected, but it's per poetry versus prose.
Yep.
No way.
They're about the same things. This is just a fictional story, and this is my story.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that. Like they're all connected. I'm gonna need to buy your books because I need more pretty books on my shelf. And they
Ah,
sound really good too.
oh my gosh. You're flattering me.
All right. So actually, you mentioned even just yourself, there one's fictional, one's real life. So it's poetry versus fiction. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, when it comes to publishing, how are they different and how are they the same? Because I'd assume it's not the exact same process, but similar.
Right. Yeah, when it comes to publishing, I think the biggest difference is poetry is it's a lot freer, I think. I didn't really I edited this like 3 or 4 times, but I didn't spend much thought on the structure of it or anything because it was just my emotions. So that was really the biggest difference was there wasn't much editing other than grammatical and word changing. Whereas this had 16 rounds of edits.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare in a good way. I loved it, but it was a nightmare. So this was just a lot freer in the sense that I could do what I want. And this one, I really had to get to the nitty gritty of storytelling and figure it out. And that's really the biggest difference. But other than that, they both have a storyline. They both have characters. It's just in this, the character's me. And then they're very similar, except for the editing part is really the only thing that's different.
Okay, I would not have guessed that at all. I think I would have thought the editing of the poetry would be not necessarily harder, but because it's more personal in a way, I would think that would be the more difficult one. But at the same time, you're writing just emotion. Like poetry is emotion, so you don't really need to, you're not really gonna have plot holes in a
Right.
poem.
No,
That's
no,
just not really a thing.
no, it's not. No, nobody was like, that doesn't really add up because there's nothing to not add up.
Yeah, you can't contradict it. Like this is how I felt. End of
Exactly. It is
story.
what it is. Yep,
Yes.
absolutely. So
Okay.
the editing was the biggest difference. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I find that I was not expecting that, but I really like that answer. Um, so my next question for you is a congratulations type of thing. You recently broke 100 sales. I think it was earlier this summer. So
Yes.
I wanted to ask you how you did it because really, if you I was doing the math for this, you have at least 50 different people out there with copies of your book, and that's assuming everybody bought both of them. So that is a huge achievement.
I know. It's just so surreal. Oh my gosh. You know, last night I've been watching because my book's in Kindle Unlimited. So I've been watching the page numbers and I was seeing that someone was currently reading my book and I was just sitting there so like in awe. I'm like, how are people actually reading this?
Yes, I think I saw that on your story actually, the little like little bars popping up as
Yeah.
it go.
I
That's
was like,
awesome.
oh my gosh. Um, well, honestly, my marketing strategy in the past, because Dark Oasis is almost a year old now, the 26th, that'll be a year.
Okay,
Um, my marketing strategy has been pretty much non-existent. I just have fun with it. If I feel like doing something, then I do it. If something seems enjoyable, then I do it. With Beautiful Ink, the poetry, I tried to have a strategy. I tried to have a schedule I followed. I tried to post regularly. And I did a terrible job and I hated it and I wanted to quit. So I just have fun. If an opportunity comes up, like earlier this year, I was published in my local newspaper. If an opportunity comes up and it sounds fun, I take it. And if it doesn't sound fun, even if it would get me a lot of sales, I don't do it because it's important for
that's
me that
fair.
the passion remains. And my passion was definitely killed early last year. So I've been focusing on keeping the passion alive. And the more excited I get, the more excited I find readers get. And that's what sells books best for me.
That no, absolutely, I agree. I've said this before. I actually did a program over the summer, and they were saying the same type of thing with writing college essays. If you're excited about something, so is your reader. If you're like,
Yes.
this is boring, I'm not having fun, honestly, you might as well, okay, maybe you'll get 100 sales that way eventually, but it's not
Right.
your heart's not in it, so it's definitely just not the same thing.
Right. Absolutely. You know, one thing I really struggle with, and I've accepted with this release that I struggle with, is marketing book releases. I don't enjoy it. I love the release itself, but marketing the release, I don't enjoy. So I'm not as active on social media as I could be. I'm not really hyping it up the same way, just because if I'm not enjoying a method of marketing, it's so stiff, it's so awkward, it's so uncomfortable. So I'm like, I enjoy marketing a backlist, so that's where I'm going to focus my efforts, even though I probably could get a lot more sales if I was marketing the release. It's just not worth it to me.
It's well, you're definitely doing something right because 100 sales is, I mean, that's triple digits. So that tells you something right there. That's awesome. And then you're also when you're publishing in a trilogy, people are going to come back and buy the second book and so on.
Come
So
on, guys, read the
yes,
books.
you got to come back. Come on, please.
You want to, I promise.
Exactly. I feel the same way when I'm doing like when I was doing the Magi, I was like, please guys, please don't let this be a one and done.
I actually had a question for you. I know this is like you're asking me the questions, but I've been super curious. Return of the Magi is coming out, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it takes place after the Magi. So do you have to
Yes.
read them in order?
So that's actually a really good question because I don't know how to market this because it feels so confusing. So
That's what I was
it's
literally thinking. I'm like, how's she gonna market that?
yeah, it's complicated. So yes, the Return of the Magi trilogy happens 8 years after the close. So you really should read the first trilogy first in regards to that, just because it takes place after and all of
Right,
the happened, all the characters they constantly reflect on what happened. With the
right.
prequel Unbound, you could really read that at any point. So you could read that before the original trilogy, after. I feel like the Return of the Magi trilogy is more fun if you've read Unbound first because you know the background. But
Okay.
they're kind of all Unbound is like this awkward puzzle piece, I call it. It kind of just like you can put it wherever you want it to be and it will fit. So does
Okay,
that
that's nice.
make sense? I hope so. Like I hope that makes sense for it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I'm like, I don't know how she's gonna market this series, but I look forward to seeing how she does it because I don't
Thank you.
know.
I am excited. I'm just pretty much going for it. I'm like, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
post this today and see what happens. And
yeah,
similar to your
absolutely.
marketing strategy, yeah, like this seems fun to post, so I'm gonna post it and see how it
Exactly.
does.
Do it while the fire's there, because you don't want to let it die.
Exactly. That was my thought with it. I was like, I could do it later, but if I do it now, hopefully people keep coming with me. Make
Yes,
it along.
absolutely.
All right. So my next question was just vaguely, do you have any tips? So this can be anything related to writing or publishing at all.
You know, that's there's like a million and one incredible tips that I've heard over the last 4 years of me doing this, of researching it and everything. Obviously, things like cover design is important, editing is important, but when it comes down to it, I think there are two, I think there are two different tips that I have that are just really things to hold on to. And one goes back to what we were saying is have fun.
Yes.
Especially, like, even if you're into publishing and you're however far down the road and you're not enjoying it even anymore, even then it's okay to stop. Just have fun with it. Just do what you want. There are things that work and there are things that don't work. Luckily, I find it fun to test things and find what works.
Yes.
So I'm very thankful I find that enjoyable. But it's meant to be something fun, so make sure it's something fun. So that's that's like my anthem, I guess. Just have fun.
Yes. No,
Um,
I agree.
Yeah, it's important. It really is.
Yeah. If you
Um, yeah. Also, I think it's really important to remember, as an author, it's so important to remember that authors are your fellow authors. They're not
Yes.
competition. Oh my gosh, they're not competition. And
Yes.
they're not potential fans. I've had personal experiences with both of them, and it's been rough. I've beta read for multiple authors now, and there was one who, after I read her book, she started regarding me as a fan instead of as a fellow author when we were friends before I read it. And it got really awkward, and it just felt kind of weird. Luckily, like I said, I have beta read for several authors, and the majority of them haven't been that way, but authors are your fellow authors. They're not potential fans. I've read your book. I loved your book. I'm a fan of
Oh,
your book.
thank you.
But like when you start looking at authors as potential fans, it starts to make it awkward. You know what I'm saying?
I no, I agree because then almost the conversation becomes one-sided in a way, and you
Exactly.
it's like suddenly only one of you is published, and
Right.
that's fine if you're talking about just one book versus the other. I'm not saying you always need to be tit for tat 50-50 on that, but
Right.
can become awkward when it's suddenly like one person forgets that the other one has also done that. They can also relate.
Yeah.
They can also give advice. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with
It's
that.
just it's really I've had a few different people at events and stuff do this as well where they're like, well, I'm published, so let me see your book and I'll tell you about your book. I had one person do that. And I was like, I'm
This
published too and I know my book. So that's definitely a big tip I have is authors are your fellow authors. We're in a way coworkers, even though we're not coworkers. We're going through this together. This is something we're doing together. We're meant to be there for each other, build each other up, absolutely become fans of each other's work. But don't treat each other as if they're just a fan when in reality they could be your friend. You know what I'm saying?
I no, I agree 100%. And I think like the writing community is you say you're in the writing community because it's a community, not because
Yes.
there's any awkward unbalance too, because I would not have been able to publish if it weren't for other authors.
Oh
Straight
my
up.
gosh, no, me neither.
It's
Oh,
they're relying on each other. So that's why I try to help other authors too, because
mm,
I would not have been able to if I hadn't gotten advice and
yeah.
people answering my questions.
I think it was Neil Gaiman who said something about how every amazing thing that's happened to him in his writing career is because of another writer. And I'm like, yes.
I
Oh
love
my
that.
gosh,
Yes.
yes.
That is
I It's
I
amazing
agree.
how
Yeah.
just having a community and being involved in a community can help you grow so much. And supporting other people makes you excited about your own work too. And it's really cool. The
That's
community
true.
is
It
the
is.
best thing. So take advantage of the community instead of trying to be the best in the community.
Yes.
Take advantage of the love and the support. And so, yeah.
No, I actually I really love that tip because I think you worded it really well too about,
Oh,
if
good.
your fellow authors, like that is what you are. And or your fellow writers too.
Right.
That's another
Absolutely.
thing that it's, just because somebody isn't published yet doesn't mean they're not as much of a writer by
Oh,
any means.
absolutely.
So I think it's just the community part of the community needs to remain in there.
Yeah.
And then you
Thank
can
you
make
so
friends
much.
there. Yes,
Yes.
keep everything
Community
together.
needs to remain a community.
Exactly. Add friends to the community. Don't make it awkward, please. Make it
Exactly.
awkward for all
We're
of
not
us.
in this to be better than each other. We're in this to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. You're doing so good."
Yes, exactly. I agree. 100,000%.
Yay.
So, speaking of lifting each other up and cheering each other on, you have a book coming out. I think it's 3 days from today. When people see this, hopefully it will be tomorrow. We'll just say August 13th. Do you want to tell us
August
anything about
13th.
it? Yes.
August 13th. Um, so basically, this good old book here, it's the villains in this book have their origin story is in the second book. So the second book follows two different timelines. One timeline is the origin story from the villains here, and then the second timeline continues on this plot. So
Oh,
that's
that's
basically what the
cool.
second book is.
I like
It's
that a
been
lot.
it's been difficult to write and very challenging, but I
It's
actually wrote the second book before I wrote this one, so that's let me do a lot of overlapping, which has been so much fun.
Oh, I love doing overlapping and foreshadowing and
Mhm.
parallels. And I think too, because you're covering with Dark Oasis something that is very complex. It's not a simple, light, fluffy plot. So when you're
Right.
back and doing the origins for that simultaneously while continuing the story, I think that sounds like a challenge, but it
Ugh.
sounds really like it's gonna pay off.
I've definitely wished before that I started with something a little easier, but now that I'm this far into it, I'm feeling more confident in my abilities.
Yeah, definitely, it gets easier with time. There's also
Yeah.
new challenges with every book, I have
Mhm.
found.
And you published a lot, so I am sure you know.
Yeah, it's simultaneously it gets easier, but then it's when you're publishing book 3 in a trilogy versus book 1, it changes, like, your marketing plan, but when you said before you really like trying new things when it comes to marketing, that's not necessarily a problem because it gives you more of a
Right.
chance to try new things with the marketing.
Right. Have you found, and here I go asking you a question again.
No, you're good.
Have you found that book 3 is hard to market compared to like book 1? I mean, obviously book 1 markets the rest of the series, but is it hard to market?
That's okay. Yes and no. I think for me, I'm in this awkward position where Belle is my favorite in the trilogy, which I
And like
know
the
it
least
probably
people read it.
yeah, so I'm like, "Come on, guys, get over here, catch up, please." So
Just
that
come on, read through the first book so you
exactly.
could do this.
Like, "Listen, I'm sorry, you gotta get through that other stuff to get here." But, I've actually noticed recently, I feel like I don't market the Magi by itself enough. So I'm trying to get back to
Oh,
that to get people in because now that I'm publishing Return of the Magi next month, I'm focusing on you have to have already read a couple books first. So definitely
right.
like, one of the challenges is kind of forgetting that you have a first book that you need people to read first.
There.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, 'cause I love the Magi, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's
Right,
bad or it's worse than Beldestein. I just really love Beldestein.
right, right.
It's me being biased, okay? My favorite character is introduced in it. What can I say? He
Oh
could
my gosh,
have
that
been
does affect
introduced.
things.
Yeah, it's just it makes it complicated, but in a good way. It gives me a chance to
Right.
fool around.
Publishing, writing is always super complicated. You just gotta have fun trying to juggle the pieces and it'll be good.
Yes, I agree. Those were all of the questions I had for you today. Do you have anything else you want to share at all?
Mm, I don't think so. I feel like we covered pretty good topics.
I think we did too, and I think we did it efficiently. Look at us. This
Yeah.
is my first time interviewing somebody, so I'm happy with how it turned out.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so honored.
Yes, I'm happy you could come on. When you said you were interested, I was so excited. So, I guess quick little wrap up type of thing here by JC's books. Actually, I hope I'm pointing. I'm pointing at what I see you on my screen. So, if I'm pointing at nothing, I just pretend I'm pointing at her, okay? So, buy her books. They are available on Amazon.
Yeah.
I believe I'll put links for them down below in the description, and then hopefully when your next book comes out, hopefully when people watch this tomorrow, I'll get that linked up and hooked up for you as well. And then I believe, I don't know if I can say it, so I don't know how to word this. I believe you also have a YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe is that can I share that at all? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I will link that down below as well. Or actually, I'll try to tag you in the actual caption of the video so people can
Okay.
find you over there as well. So make sure to
Great.
subscribe to her as well. Um,
It's new. It's really new. So,
yeah, I watched a couple of your videos the other day and I thought I
uh,
would not have guessed they were new because my first videos are so awkward and I was like, how are her videos so good for a first? They look great.
I think I've watched like every video on your channel. I have been
Oh,
binging
wow.
it. Oh my gosh. I've been
Oh,
loving
thank
it.
you. Okay, that's good to hear. My first videos are not as cringy as I thought they were.
No,
Good to
no, they're
know.
not.
Maybe
Not at
just
all.
me. I think everybody says their first is always their worst one. So once you get past that, you're good from here on out.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it. I've never recorded a video on here before. I told you that before. So if you're watching this video and it looks awkward at the end while I turn it off, that's my bad. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for coming on, Jacie. I
Yes,
guess I'm
thank you.
going to try to end the recording now and it will
Mhm.
probably hang us up. So I'll text you in a few minutes.
Okay, great.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.